2 programs, 2 levels, 1 system, and this month,
Everything starts.
Welcome to 3 over 2 Hoops. I'm Coach Jessica DeLiba.
I'm Coach Bob Belf, and we would like to introduce you to the system.
Welcome back to 3 over 2 Hoops. I'm Coach Jessica DeLiba.
I'm Coach Bob Belf.
And we hope you had a happy new year, happy holidays.
It's been a very nice break for all of us here.
Definitely.
And we're ready to get back at it.
Yes, we have a special one today for everyone.
We definitely think that as we approach the second semester for us, we wanted to go over shifts. We wanted to teach how we do it, what we're looking for, how we put things together, our overall mindset as to what we're trying to accomplish with that.
Yeah, the biggest thing we want to talk about is rotations and groups, units. Every coach kind of calls it different things. I usually say we're doing a 3-line rotation or a 5-line rotation.
Or as Coach did last year at Alma, they had a 19.
Oh, yeah. They had a 19-person shift.
Yeah,
crazy.
They didn't really like that.
No.
Well, there's going to be more to this than just one episode, because what we're going to talk about here is how we put it together. Minutes are involved, how you sub, when you sub. There's a lot of things here that we're going to forget more than we remember to tell everybody. I think just starting off right away is that you have to change your mentality in thinking in groups, and you have to think in units. You have to put people together as a group. Not minutes played, not does this...
My best 5.
Right. Everybody else tends to look at, I'm going to put my best 5 together and sub 2 in, and then they see a drop-off when someone comes out. But those best 5 don't always play well together because their skill sets don't always mesh. So that is something that we think is very important as we start to go through this. Anything you want to add before I jump on some of that?
No, I definitely think, I know it's the same at the college level, but definitely at the high school level. I mean, outside of your best 2-3 players, or say you're starting 5, sometimes 6, 7, 8 is not...
Can be a huge talent drop-off.
Yeah.
No question.
And I see it, with teams we're about to play in our league. Coaches don't really sub after... 6 man off the bench.
6, 7. I think.
You did not just make that joke.
I did not say that. I know when I first started this, one of the reasons I went to it was because my depth went 10, 11, 12 deep at the high school level, and it was important for me to get those kids in the game and find ways to get minutes for them. And that's when we started doing it. All right, so let's just start with some of this. Ideally for us at our level, we'd like to run 3 groups, okay? That's how we'd love to set it up. And our basic mentality is we're going to play 15 people. High school level, different. You're going to play 10 or 11. You can do this with 8. You can do this with less. It's always a challenge. But the biggest thing we try to do right off the top is we don't ever want to double shift. We would love to never double shift. I say that, and... it's very difficult not to because people in. But your best people still need to get minutes on, sitting with you. At the high school level, I would say it's probably about 20, maybe 23 minutes out of 32. At the college level, we found the saturation point to be 27 minutes. After 27 minutes, a player is too tired to contribute anything more to their stats. So it was kind of like that was where we could go. So if we can go 23, 24, 25 minutes with a college player, we're probably doing something to help them be a factor.
And I think I will add, I think that when you first start this, the immediate reaction to my best player is going to be playing less minutes, well, they're not going to be able to produce or score. I can even say, at the beginning, I thought that as well. And I could say my best player is averaging more than she was last year, and she is playing less minutes.
Based on more possessions, based on more shots, based on more production, their production goes up rather than down. Plus, they're now they're never fatigued. The fatigue factor is a huge factor in this. Okay, so when we start looking at our groups, we put our groups together. Right off the top, the first thing I like to do is who can score and how do they score. So if you're an All-American when you played, you like to score the ball in a certain way. And that means come off screens, or you need one-on-one space, or you like to pick and roll, or you're a post player, whatever it means for you to score. And then in that group, where do you need help? Because if you are a pick and roll player, there's got to be a screen.
Yes.
If you're a post player, there's got to be a feeder. If you're strictly a dead three shooter, then I've got your point guard dependent, and I've got to get you somebody to get you the basketball.
And I think that's like one of the most important things is you can't just go and watch Grinnell play. You do not have the same types of players that they have. Like, that would be me coaching a girls team, watching guys play. That's not going to help me. You have to realize what you have.
Well, and I do, but I also love the fact that he does the same thing in that regard, that he's going to maximize his primary players, his primary scorers, and find ways for them to be factors. You are correct, the depth is better, the athleticism, etc., but the basic premise is to make that player as much as you can.
So
now, go ahead.
Let me ask you, so, okay, we're structuring groups. Like, are we trying to get certain points scored out of, like, are we trying to, that this group scores this much, this group scores this much, or is it based around the top players?
It can be both. If you sliced it perfectly and you said we had three groups at 35 points would put you well above what you want.
You like getting to 100, don't you?
I'd love to get to 100. So at that same point, though, some groups right now, I have a young lady who's starting to really score. She's like 26, 27 points a night. But the person who's best at feeding her and creating with her is also a scorer. And so the two of them have to play together right now. Or if I take the feeder off the floor, my girl who's scoring 25 isn't going to get the ball where she needs it, how she needs it to score. So sometimes that becomes a factor, is who needs to play with who.
And I would also add, it's not only about scoring. You also need who's good at defending, who's good at playing this spot. It's not only
Absolutely.
offensive based.
Right. So now who can, if we need screeners, who's going to bring that to the table? Who's an offensive rebounder? Who is somebody who's going to help you handle the basketball against pressure? All of a sudden there's areas of it, but you tend to kind of go down from seniors down all the way to freshmen. Tend to be energy people that come in and help you because they really don't know what they're doing yet, and so they just can come in and play hard. As they start to get this and start to evolve offensively, they start getting more involved in what they're doing. But offensively, the triggers still are what makes my primary shooter or shooters. Could be two. We had a group one time at Grinnell that was a kid who was a 5'10" point guard, and he was pick and roll all the way. So now the two of them were tied together, him and the trailer, because they pick and rolled all the time. So the two of them now together, you're saying, all right, and get 25 points out of the two of them. Now we've got something in this group. We had somebody lead the nation scoring at 32, 33 a night. He can carry a group by himself. Mm-hmm. So now what you're doing is to find out who helps him get there, who gives him the space. Go ahead.
Not to cut you off again.
No, it's fine.
I think also rebounders are a huge factor. Like, if you have someone on your team that's a huge rebounder, whether it's defensive or offensive, or especially offensive, that kick out three back again,
Huge.
You want them in that group, especially if you have a good
offensive
shooter.
rebound is such a big part of this. I would also like to mention, though, at the same time, like if you're in high school and you're going to see a lot more zone, there are people that help you against the zone that may not be great offensive players against man-to-man, especially at the high school level. That tends to happen. So sometimes a group needs that.
And I think the biggest thing with all of this, don't be so set that, oh, these are the groups and we're going to stick with this. At the beginning, when we first started, my first 2 games, I was like, oh no, she can't play with her. That did not work. I should not have put her there. And you can redo your groups. And it can even change. Like, yes, ideally in a perfect setting, you keep the same groups. They learn to gel together, but you get in foul trouble. Kids get sick. We had the flu going around. Kids were missing left and right. Like, you don't know who's going to be available when.
There are certain players just gel with other players, and you never would have figured that in a million years. We did, when I was with Coach Dave one year, we put 5 kids together in a group. We spent the next 2 weeks taking kids out of that group to see how that group responded. And does that group need the shooter? Does that group need the and so as we started to play with pieces, if somebody went to another group and all of a sudden elevated line 2, all of a sudden you realize that kid's not going to go back into line 1. And then we kind of got ourselves something we were comfortable with. And obviously our best player was in that group. Secondary shooters become very important in all this as well, because when they start to trap or they start to take things away, I know that when we had a really nice point guard who needed space, if we had a shooter with him, they couldn't cheat off the shooter, and the shooter had some nights because they tried to double team and they found him all night. So it was, but he had a specific role.
Right.
He was a dead 3, but he was a great shooter, and all of a sudden you can't leave him. So that's how sometimes all of a sudden you're like, all right, that meshed. But the other kid who was in the corner didn't necessarily fit other groups because they could stay and help, and with that one they couldn't help off of.
And I think it's important to realize you want to put your players in the best role possible. And I think that's also because I had a player come to me like, oh, I don't think I can play that position. Your players need to trust you and that you are going to put them in the best place that's going to be the most successful for them. It's like, I'm not trying to make you look bad. I think that's the biggest thing, that players think that they're not good at something because maybe they're not comfortable or they haven't stepped out of their comfort zone yet.
They also have a preset idea of what each position is. I'm not a point guard. I'm not a post. Really what you end up doing there is trying to create matchup situations against a smaller kid or against a bigger kid, where all of a sudden, just because I called you a post doesn't mean I'm doing that. I'm putting you on somebody smaller, and now you can go down inside and hurt someone in the swing. So I think right now, if they get that out of their head, it'll certainly help them as to where we want to talk floor. Play off the floor here. What are you good at? I know at times I have taken my teams and said, go to the spot on the floor that you really are good at and feel that is the best spot for you to score. And invariably, I'll have 3 or 4 kids go to a spot on the floor that I'm like, well, you never shoot the ball from there, so what am I missing?
Right.
But maybe that's on me to get them the basketball in those spots, if that's where they're more comfortable. Go ahead.
No, and I think the big thing, like talking about, you mentioned earlier, talking about younger players, I think the biggest thing is when you do have, especially at high school level, I have 3 freshmen up on varsity. Freshmen coming into college, same thing. I think they have to produce, and they have to. You may have a program that you just graduated a big class, and your freshmen are the best players, but most situations are not like that. There are players ahead of them that they've been here, they are better, whether they like it or not, you know what I mean? And I think it's sometimes hard for younger players to realize, like, okay, I got to take a back seat. Like, it's not my time right now.
Their idea of contributing is points.
Yes.
And where you can contribute in so many other ways in what you're doing. And that's why we mentioned to freshmen that energy is what I need from you most, because as they're confused and as they hesitate, they don't bring energy. They stand around watching the game, and I need you to go the other way. I need you to play so hard that you're running through a wall, and that's going to get you time on the floor.
Well, that's what's funny to me is I wasn't even on varsity as a freshman. Obviously, I turned out all right, but if I would have been on varsity as a freshman, I would have been thrilled to just be there. Right. Like even you bring up kids for districts at the end, and you bring up freshmen so they can be in with everybody. They can get the feel for it, how it is, how the energy is, and it's like they just need to be the most excited to be there, because at the end of the day, most programs, freshmen are not playing in high school. At the junior college level, usually it's sophomores that are ahead of them. Let's be honest, let's say Division III schools, because that's where I have experience. There's a JV team at most of these schools. Freshmen are on the JV team. You have to be exceptional, even at the D3 level, to be a freshman playing minutes, high-level minutes.
Plus, I think at every level you go to, the physicality is different. So you're not as in good of physical shape,
100%,
or you aren't developed as much as the seniors are when you're a freshman, and then you go to the next level and it starts all over again, and you got to get in the weight room and you got to do other things.
You're not a woman yet. You're just growing into everything. Even how many more years of weightlifting they've been doing than you. You know, it's those Kobe mentality, the amount of I've put in more hours that you can't catch up. So, not to get off topic.
No, it was good. It's right there. I think another part of this is, as we like to put groups together, is you'd love to always keep 4 perimeter shooters on the floor at a time. Now, I know that's not always possible, but if it's certain areas of the floor can benefit you. If you have a trailer that can shoot the basketball and you can incorporate the trailer into the game, it stretches the game from the top of the key to the bottom. If you have shooters on both sides that are, even though they're secondary shooters compared to your primary shooter, they can spread the floor side to side. So now your floor spacing is different, and penetrators have a whole new avenue to the rim if all of a sudden you've got shooters. If you're trying to put together one shooter with one ball handler and the other 3 can't, you're going to run into different types of defenses. So you got to kind of work with that a little bit as well. I think to flip it just a little bit to the energy is, you can put a group together where I really like the skill set of all these kids, but the group has no cohesion. The group has no energy. The group has nothing. And all of a sudden, one kid can come in and just totally change that, and they may not even be as good a player.
They might just be a hustle player, diving for a loose ball. I have a girl man, she is on the floor more than throwing herself, and it literally gets our team. She might have scored 4 or 6 points, maybe hit a couple threes, but the energy from her was incredible. I messaged her after the game and I said, "You played amazing." And she's probably thinking "Oh, I only scored 6 points." But it's the energy that she brought from that and being that player.
Yeah, but again, it's just coming back to that's not all you bring to the table here. I just keep also seeing, when we played this weekend, and we had a very nice game. We did some good things, but we ended up coming up short. The referee came to us and said, "I've never, been refereeing a team that has much energy and positivity and excitement playing the game as you guys." And I'm just like, wow, that's quite the compliment to the losing team.
Well, in our last game, I also had the ref come over to me, actually, and he said to me, "Thank you for coaching your team." I don't have time to worry about the refs. There's so much going on in the game. I didn't even notice you guys were there.
Exactly. It's the truth. You don't even talk to them anymore, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then.
But to add on to having 4 perimeter shooters, I think it's also important. It's important that people know the pecking order of who is the best shooter, who is secondary, who's tertiary. I don't know what the 4.
Very nice word, by the way,
Thank you.
tertiary. I will say this. A lot of female coaches struggle with pecking order because it's a hurting the feelings type thing. The kids know who the best shooter is. The kids know who's second or third. They know. They just don't want to admit that they aren't as good a shooter as that girl.
And from personal experience, what I do in practice, they're all standing on one side. I said, "Point to who's the best shooter on your side right now," and I will make them point. And they know. They'll be okay. They'll be
so
all right.
Are you getting that kid shots? Are you working through this? It's not a free-for-all. It is trying to get the best shots for your best shooters. In an ideal world, it would be lovely if you could control how many shots everybody got. If you walked away saying, that person, we're going to shoot the ball 52 times, and she's getting this, and she's getting this, and you can walk away with that would be amazing.
And I'll also add, though, I had a girl come from nowhere, career high. If someone has the hot hand, then in that moment, your players also need to learn, feed her. And that's, I think, also important. An important part of the groups, someone you may not have even thought was going to have a career night, and they do.
You led right into this, that the evolution of each kid can happen quicker or slower than you expect. I know you're dealing with a couple kids right now where you're they're not coming along quite as much as you expect, but then all of a sudden that young lady went from an energy kid, not even an energy kid, to an energy kid, to now all of a sudden a scorer. Well, that can throw you for a loop in the sense of as you have a group of people that you like, she could disrupt that, because now all of a sudden she has gone from the fourth shooter in a line to the second shooter in a line, and now all of a sudden you might have to change lines. I don't think it's a bad thing to keep lines moving. I know that Coach A liked doing groups and trying to keep them together initially as long as possible, but I think that as you start getting into more players and we go 16, 17, 18 deep, there's no way everybody's playing with the same people all the time.
Right.
So what you're looking for are who plays well with each other. You're looking for those little combinations that I need to play these two together. These three are nice together. What can we do around them? Where can they go? And then as the evolution of offense comes, now all of a sudden you're harder and harder and harder to guard, because you've got shooters all over the place that they can't take care of. And I think from a high school standpoint, you have more shooters than most high schools right now at this point, where I would say that you probably got 6 kids that can shoot the three comfortably.
Yeah.
And you take all of a sudden your best player, who's a Division I point guard, and surround her with 5 shooters. How do you help? How do you get to that kid and stop? You have to double team that kid, and now there's shooters available.
But I think that's important to understand, is that the players can change, and they should be changing. If you're doing a good job at practice, and right, you're not running through plays if you're doing this, because there's no plays. Well, there's structure, which we all know about, but you have time to work on stuff. You have time to work. I did not have 6 shooters last year. Let me make that perfectly clear.
0.
Yeah, actually, we worked in practice. We did stuff in practice to improve their game, and now that is what has evolved. We're able to hopefully do some things this year.
What I do most like about her team, and this is something that I'm starting to like about my team, is your kids have totally bought into the pressure. You have the pace of game, the effort it takes. They're not really bothered too much by the way things are going. If the pace of game is going, they understand why they're pressing. I felt at the beginning that if we were going to be successful at our level, we had to be much better at the press than we were last year, and we are now rounding into that. We are getting better. We are not creating the turnovers I would like to see yet, but the pace of game has been a huge factor and has run down 3 of our last 4 opponents, to the point where they just are absolutely gassed.
Yeah.
This team that we just played called 2 timeouts back to back to rest.
Yeah.
I was like, never had that one happen. That was kind of cool. All right, so there's more to the groups in the sense of now we basically have a basic structure, how we want to put things together, and we are going to have to end this here, so we're going to put that in next. But we want to talk about minutes played. We want to talk about how to lay 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 groups, what you're trying to do, and then where else you want to go. I think from the standpoint of the pace and where we're headed into the next, we're not cover this now, but from the pace and where we're headed and how quickly things go, your kids have bought in well, and my kids are doing better, and I think from that standpoint, it's kind of fun because they're going up and down, and then in our next episode, we can cover the next part of our shifts.
Yep. So if you guys have any questions for us about rotations, anything you want us in the next episode when we do talk about rotations, ask us questions. We can specifically break something down for you guys. But other than that, we thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us for more. We'll be back soon.